and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the 7 deadly sins of salespeople, the biggest mistake that salespeople make all the time. Now, I've been involved in sales for quite a while, and I've seen these mistakes being made by veterans, by newbies, all the whole works. And here's what you need to understand: that first things first, that your marketing, you work hard to get your marketing to work for you. In other words, you've got to get the word out there. Once you get the word out there, then that doesn't mean that you're going to get an automatic sale. It just means that you've got a chance at the sale. Then the next step that your consumers take is you need to persuade them that you're the match for them. If you have a hard time doing this, or if you use these outdated modalities of selling, then you're going to have a rough time to sell what you do or sell what you have, where you can reach into the fulfillment stage. So we need to work, if our marketing is working and effective for us, but we're spending a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort on that, and then we can't sell them, then that's going to be a huge problem for us. A recent poll of 1,000 people, 90% said that, just off the cuff, that they don't trust salespeople. The other 10%, though, however, were salespeople. The problem with selling is that most people in sales, it's been a planned career path, that they went to college for it, that they planned for it, they grew up, they woke up in the morning, and they decided in high school that they wanted to grow up to be a salesperson, which not so much. People don't dream of being salespeople. Kids don't have look up to heroes as salespeople. So selling is not a planned career path. It's almost a secondary. It's like, okay, well, this didn't work out, therefore I'm going to go into selling, and then that's going to work out for me. Because there's these two major myths about selling. That selling's easy. Number one, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And then number two, you can make a lot of money. Well, you can make a lot of money, but let me just sum both of these myths up with one quote by Zig Ziglar, who said, "Sales is the best paying hardworking job and the worst paying lazy working job." So if you're in it for the money, then you're going to have to work hard and you're going to have to be prepared. Now, I've prepared some ideas that will help you for that, and we'd like to talk about those today. There's 3 necessary steps to getting a productive sales force. Number 1, you've got to hire right. Number 2, train proficiently. And number 3, measure often. Similarly, there's 3 necessary steps to a productive salesperson, which, first off, you've got to get your head straight. If your head's not in the game, it's a very mental game. And if your head's someplace else, if you're distracted, if you just got a bill in the mail that's really throwing you, then you might have a bad day selling because you're having a hard time getting your head straight. And number 2, you got to prepare. Again, the myth of that sales is easy, therefore I don't have to do anything. And what I've seen is that the best of the best do nothing but prepare. They do nothing but education to prepare themselves to be better because they want to stay on top of their game. And then number 3, you need to plan on following up, because today's selling modality, today's buyer, is taking more time to making their decision. So you've got to have a strategy to where you're not just going for the one and done sale, but you are going for the prepared process of the sale. So, I mean, whose responsibility is it to train? Whose responsibility is it to learn? Whose responsibility is it to get better? After all, it's your money in your pocket, typically, when you sell more. If you're going to make the same amount of money, then yeah, I guess you can take the easy road. But if you make more money by being better, then let's continue the conversation. There's 4 types of salespeople that I've seen in my career as a sales trainer and as a sales manager. Number 1, and I compare them to these 4 birds. You've got ducks, you've got seagulls, you've got pelicans, and you've got eagles. And this is what I like in these salespeople too. Ducks, they're lazy, they waddle, they quack a lot. Ducks can fly, but they only do so when they absolutely have to. Seagulls, on the other side, they fly around nimbly, and you might get confused. But the problem with it is that they are scavengers, and they just make a lot of noise and then they poop on everyone. And then pelicans, they're smart and predictable. Most times I see my sales managers are the good sales managers are pelicans. being smart and predictable is an awesome feature for a great sales manager. Now, the top of the top, they're the eagles. They're systematic. They soar. They don't waddle on the ground. They fly high, and they have this great vision. And eagles in nature have been proven to go out and they will catch fish that are bigger than them that they cannot fly with. But what they will do is they'll grab it with their talons and they won't let go. In fact, they'll row themselves to shore using their giant wingspan until then they can pick it apart and then make a plan to bring it back to the nest. And that's the kind of salesperson that we all want to be. We all want to be eagles, and there's again a systematic approach to doing that. In sales, used to be two modalities of you were either a hunter or a farmer. Well, the hunter's going for the quick and easy, the one and done, the here and now, and that's what they come off as this untrusty kind of smarmy salesperson. The farmer in today's society, it just takes too long for that process to work. So what I've developed instead is the fishing mentality, to where you can be in the right place at the right time with the right attraction or the right bait, if you will, when you're fishing. And it's taking the best of both worlds of fishing or of hunting and farming. And with that, you're able to accomplish more as a salesperson. But it's just a slight deviation to what you may be doing right now. Now, the 7 sins, when these sins are rectified, you end up making more money, easier work life. Your personal life is obviously easier because more money, money's not everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen. And that's what really stresses out most of our personal life and job security as well as career security. The old school mentality and the old school methodology and techniques of sales, they just don't work so much anymore. In fact, you probably know most of them. Have you ever heard of this when being taught in a sales class, the theory of ABC, which stands for always be closing? Listen, people don't want to be closed. They don't want to be sold, but they do want to buy, and most times they want to buy viable products like what you're trying to sell. So let's get on. We're going to cover the first sin here. First sin of selling is self-propelled. By show of hands here, how many of you hope today to go out and be sold? And what I'm talking about is you want, imagine that you're shopping for a car and you walk up into the parking lot of the dealership that you're going to visit, and you've got those 4 salespeople that are sitting out there on the stairs, and you just know they're almost like a pack of hungry wolves that are going to just dive on you, and you just get this gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach. And nobody likes to be sold, and nobody likes to be convinced, or nobody likes to have their objections overcome. In fact, we developed this sales filter, and we have this distrust. In that first poll that I talked about, where 90% of people don't like salespeople, we've developed this idea that salespeople are bad for a reason. I want you to think about what you think of a salesperson, and then I want you to think about what happens when this guy shows up and starts selling you. You're going to put up an automatic defense. So we have to be the polar opposite of this person, to where we're not coming off as smarming and as pushy, and more so being overselling and under delivering. I mean, if you've ever bought something that the salesman has overpromised and under delivered, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't had that happen, then, well, you might be very, very young, or you just haven't bought that much. For example, if you purchased a car recently, you understand exactly how this goes, because it's such a competitive industry. In fact, in advertising, marketing, one of the biggest paydays for a television station is our car dealerships, and they are very, very lucrative to advertising, because car dealerships have to continue the advertising. When you were looking for that car, did you happen to see one of those little guys out there that was the wavy blowing guys there that they put the fan in and then they start waving all around to catch your attention. Did that do anything to make you want to buy a car? Most people say no, it didn't. Okay, what about one of those guys? Have you seen those as you're driving down the highway at a car dealership? Um, did that make you want to buy a car? What if it was wearing shorts? Or what if it was wearing shorts, holding a car, and a rubber ducky and sunglasses? Now you're in the mood, aren't you? The fact of the matter is that they're using these old modalities of marketing. Then you pull in there, and they're using the old modalities of selling. Now, this is not a seminar about selling cars. I'm just taking you out of your industry and putting you in the modality of being a consumer, of how it feels being sold. And when you have a salesperson who is self-propelled, it does not feel nice and it does not feel good, and it's going to turn you off, and it's going to make the sale 10 times harder for that salesperson than were they to shift their attitude. Three things that I want you to be aware of when you're selling, in fact, is their body language. We have built into our systems, we know our gut, we usually call it our gut feeling about somebody, but we sense body language, and you just can't hide your body language. At a younger age, I was an interrogator of prisoners of war in the Army, and the one thing that you can look at people's body language, and you can look for the little knickknacks, and you don't have to be an expert at body language to know this, but as a consumer, you just get that feeling that you've learned when people are being smarmy or being deceptive with you. Number two, I want you to watch the tonality of what you say, because how you say something can be inflected wrongly, and if your tonality's off, then again you're going to be going down the wrong road there with your sale. And then number three, don't do these upper hand moves. There's this old thing that when I was first in sales, and this is 30 years ago, I was taught this little quickie thing to where you put your, when you shake a hand, you put your hand with the palm facing down, and then it subconsciously infers a dominant position. That's a bunch of crap, and don't do these little moves like that to try to get them to sign today, and pushing the paper across the table and all these little nonsense things, and let me go see the manager. Sometimes there are legitimate things, but just say, listen, legitimately, I've got to go see my manager to get this approved. But what I'm telling you is, don't pre-plan these upper hand smarmy techniques. They don't work. You can learn how to overcome them by just doing a quick Google search, and you'll find all the information on the internet about them. This is again designed to be a short webinar, so we're not going to cover all the 7 deadly sins today, but just to go over what they are. Sin number one, the no selling, the consulting mode. You got to take yourself out of the self-driven mode and go into consulting mode. Number two, too much information, too wrong information. You're talking to them about what you want to sell them and not about what they want to buy. Number three, bad habits are a horrible part of a bad salesperson. And then behaviors. We don't do the right behaviors as a salesperson. Behaviors are the elements that go into the sale. In other words, if you have to do so many phone calls to get so many appointments to get so many sales, if we're not doing enough phone calls, that's a behavior. We're not focusing on our behaviors, which we need to. Number five, measuring. We're measuring the wrong things. For example, if we measure how much we made in sales over the last month, that's too little, too late. We need to measure daily, we need to measure weekly, and we need to measure monthly, as well as we need to measure the elements that go into the sale, not just the end results. Number six, optimist. Listen, I'm a happy, positive guy, but you've also got to be realistic. You can't just throw some seeds out in the backyard there and then think positive thoughts that it's going to grow. You got to get out there and work the garden. Otherwise, the weeds will take over. And then number seven, follow-up. Most people look at follow-up by its initials, and unfortunately, in selling, today's buyer needs more time. The one and done sale is not so much anymore. You need to have a plan, a strategy, and then you need to build in that strategy. You can get all of this on my latest CD, which is the 7 Deadly Sins of Salespeople. And it's about an hour's worth of information that will help give you some ideas and help adjust. Take a look at what you're doing. Normally, this sells for $39 online. Um, Further, if you're interested in buying this right now, I've put it on sale for $15 plus the shipping and handling. Just click down below and we'll get that sent right out to you. As always, I stand behind everything that I sell. Thank you for joining me today. If you would, please share the word about this if this has been effective and helpful to you, to giving you a little boost in your day. I'm Rick Brewer. Thanks again for joining us.